Today we're going to do this worksheet here where we're going to label the parts of the oxyacetylene rig. And so we have 21 blanks here with a picture out to the side that we will follow the number and then transfer the proper name over here to the side. So we're going to start with number 1, and number 1 is actually pointing, you can see on your paper, it's pointing to this particular gauge right here. Now to write this on your paper, we're going to shorten it up just a little bit. Anytime it's referring to oxygen, we're just going to put an O for oxygen. That way you don't have to write it out. Just put an O for oxygen. If it's acetylene, okay, instead of writing out acetylene, you're just going to put a big A for acetylene because the blank's not that big. So that is on the oxygen bottle, which is the taller bottle, and it's pointing to this gauge. That's going to be our oxygen line pressure gauge. Oxygen line pressure gauge. Next, number 2, we have this gauge, which is the oxygen bottle pressure gauge. Okay, you need one? Number 3, we're up here right on the top. This is our oxygen on-off valve. That's how we turn the bottle on and off. Now remember that bottles are also called cylinders. Another name for it. Okay, 4 is just pointing just to the valve, the oxygen valve. That valve is the weakest point of that bottle right there that we need to really kind of be cautious with. That's why we put the cap on it whenever it's not in use to protect that valve. The valve is where the on-off connection is, and also where you would add the regulator to join it to the bottle. It's called the valve. Number 5, we're on this bottle, which is our what bottle?
Acetylene.
Acetylene. So we can put A, and that's going to be our acetylene line pressure gauge because it is away from the bottle. The other gauge is going to be our acetylene bottle pressure. Whenever you turn it on, that acetylene bottle pressure should go up and tell you how much is in, what kind of pressure is in your acetylene tank. Number 7, that valve there is actually kind of an older valve. It doesn't look like these. They don't use those anymore, but it's pictured there. That's going to be the acetylene on-off valve. And then number 8 is pointing to the acetylene valve. Remember that valve, we want to protect it. It's made out of brass. It's a soft metal. It will not spark. That's important to know as far as the safety feature of that bottle. 9 is pointing to a pair of safety goggles. Usually the goggles, you have a choice of clear or tinted. Some people prefer to use tinted because they will, kind of filter your eye, the light a little bit, make it a little easier on your eyes, but there is no risk in burning your eyes with the cutting torch. 9 is referring to, we already did that one. That was going to be the goggles. 10 is the acetylene bottle. A bottle, and it's going to be the shorter bottle. This one here is kind of a bigger, wider made bottle, but you can see our cylinder here, same diameter, it's just a shorter bottle. 11 is the attachment called the cutting attachment. So we can add different attachments to this, and I'll just kind of show you how we do that. Unscrew this one here. So here's our cutting attachment that you see pictured there. All right. This is called the torch body. And the torch body is where you connect your hoses, and it has your acetylene valve and your oxygen valve, which we'll get to here in a minute. And you can add and change different attachments here, okay? And so that's how you do that. Whenever you do change these out, this is a brass fitting. You don't have to get a wrench and tighten this down, okay? You can just, you can just tighten it down by hand, and then just kind of turn it really good, and you should have it sealed good enough to where it doesn't leak, okay? Let's go to the next one. Number 12, we're going to our hoses here, and I know that's a white hose there. It's actually going to be your red hose. What hose would that be? Acetylene, so put A hose. The other one, number 13, is going to be your green hose. That's going to be the O, oxygen hose. 14 is the oxygen bottle. 15, that's going to be the welding attachment. Here's the welding attachment right here. So it changes out just like the cutting torch attachment, okay? You unscrew that one and replace it with this one. I'll demonstrate this one for you. It's a pretty basic welding attachment. There are no valves on it or anything like this. It's not near as, doesn't have an oxygen bar or a mixing valve. It's pretty simple to operate, and I'll demonstrate it for you, but that's the welding attachment. 16 is the striker. Guys, I keep the strikers in these carts back here, kind of in the back. They've got a little box back here or on the table. And the striker is how we light the torch. 17 and 18 are kind of complicated there. You have to watch the lines and see where they're pointing to. I believe 17 to me is pointing to this valve right here. So that would be the acetylene A torch valve. And then for 18, it's going to be the oxygen torch valve. This is where you're going to control it. You're going to turn it on and off right here and control your flame at this point. 19 is pointing to what we call flashback protectors. Flashback. What is a flashback? First of all, if y'all are writing that down, when the flame recesses back through the torch and goes back through the hoses and back to the bottles, disaster can occur. It's called a flashback. Flames should not do that. Flames should be out here, not back going this way. And so those are backflow preventers to keep the flow from going backwards through this system. Okay? So we have those on ours, as you see here. They're just going to be, it's a safety device is what it is. Okay? If you were to have a flashback, what you would recognize in the torch is it would get really hot. The hoses would start to burn and smolder. And then a few seconds later, whatnot, it's going to burn, and you're going to realize, okay, I better turn these bottles off before something blows up, okay? So, haven't had one, but just be cautious of it. If you see this thing start to kind of catch on fire, you better turn it off, okay? 20 is going to be the acetylene regulator, A regulator. And then the last one, 21, is the O oxygen regulator. And remember, the regulators is how we set the pressure on this. We can add pressure to our line or take away by screwing down on this toggle screw here. And as it screws down, it allows more pressure to go through. Okay? Any questions on those? All right, we're good. Video's good.